if it gets denied at reconsideration, what happens when you file a request for a hearing? Tell us a little bit about what happens at the hearing.
So if the reconsideration is denied, then you have another 60 days to request a hearing. It's an administrative hearing. And one thing that's great about Social Security is that you are allowed to introduce new evidence throughout the entire process. So it's not like other legal fields where you submit your evidence and that's all that's on the record. You can submit evidence throughout the entire process. And sometimes this process can take years. So people that are continuing treatment, continuing to see doctors, all of that new information can still be submitted. And you can get everything in up until 5 days before a hearing date. At the hearing, you're going to be you're going to sit down with, there's a judge, there's the claimant, their attorney, a vocational expert, and then a court reporter, of course.
All right, so what's the role there? All right, so kind of walk us through, if you will, what happens when you get to the hearing. So you've submitted everything prior to the hearing, the most recent medical records, and a lot of these medical conditions, as you and I both know, are progressive. So it may be actually have gotten worse since they actually filed the original application, and over time their condition. So even though they may not have qualified, 2 years earlier when they filed the original application because of their condition, it may have gotten worse. So it's very important, and that's one of the benefits of getting a lawyer involved, is because we can then send a questionnaire to the doctor, get the doctor to confirm that, yes, based on this person's condition, they're no longer able to go back to any type of work. So you get to a hearing, everything's been submitted. What happens at the hearing?
At a hearing, it's going to start out with the judge. The judge is going to kind of take the lead at the beginning. They're going to ask the claimant, one thing they're going to look at is your work history to kind of understand what kind of work you have done in the past. They're going to go back about 15 years. So they're going to kind of...
And they go through all the jobs and the type of responsibilities you had at each of those jobs,
It's not just where you worked. It's what did you do when you were there? What what training did you have there? Did you get any certificates while you were at that
or
job?
If you had any management experience.
Yep. So they want to know everything about 15 years back of your employment. After that, the judge will start asking questions about the disability. Why? They'll ask them sometimes just straight, why do you think you are disabled? And they'll want the claimant to explain what their impairment is, when it started, and how it's affecting them on a day-to-day basis, and why they think that they are entitled to disability benefits. At that point, the judge will turn it over to the attorney, and that's where it really becomes important for us as the attorney to really tell your story about what's going on in your life. How is this affecting your day-to-day, why you cannot work, how it's affecting your home life, and really drive those points home that it's not just that you've been injured, but it's the fact that you cannot work. There's, certain people, depending on the impairment, if you're missing a certain amount of days a month because of your impairment. Well, I mean, if you're...
Or because of doctor's appointments or those types of things.
If you're missing, 3, 4, 5 days a month because of your medical condition, I mean, there's really not too many jobs out there that someone's going to hire you for if you go in and say, hey, and I'm going to need 5 days off every month. So those things come up.
Right. And so some of the other things I know that we always go over very carefully with our client is not just the medications that they're taking, but the side effects and the problems that taking these medications, because a lot of clients come to us and, I mean, they just take a ridiculous amount of medication. And so one of the things that we do at the hearing, and I know you've done it, is to kind of go through each one of their medications, how often do they take it, and what are the side effects.